Okay, my man. Finally, we are here. We are live. We are direct. The red dot is in position like an orb in the sky, which means we're recorded. So, Jan, good morning and great to have you on board. How are you today?
Thank you, Kofi. Thank you for having me. I'm doing very well. Thank you.
Yeah,
Really looking forward to our chat today.
brilliant. I know it's been a bit of a time in the making, but as things happen, sometimes we need to spin plates, which is all good. But where are you in the world today? Because I have a feeling, an inclination that you might not
I
be in the
yes,
same.
I'm having a good time in a spa town in West Bohemia, um, and it's a beautiful weather outside. So I'm very happy having a week break from work. But so happy to um be with you here today, recording this podcast.
Brilliant. And this is what makes you even more a legend because you're actually on a break and you're doing this with me. So it makes me feel like this isn't work for you, but something that you enjoy. So I'm gonna take that. I'm gonna take that. Thank you. Great. Now we haven't got tons and tons of time, but before we start, I want to do an introduction and then for you to fact check me before we get into the man of the next hour or so, which is yourself. So are you ready?
Yes, I am.
Born ready. So today I am absolutely thrilled to welcome someone whose story is proof that the most meaningful journeys often begin the moment you choose to truly know yourself. Jan Skroud is the founder of iNOMEE, a company whose name actually says it all. I know me. After over 2 decades leading sales and marketing teams across some of the finest hospitality organizations, Jan made a bold pivot on purpose. And you know, I'm all about these pivots on purpose. He packed his bags, moved to London, and set about building something entirely his own. iKnow is a leading learning and development company that helps leaders and professionals unlock their full potential through self awareness, psychometric tools, and the kind of coaching that creates lasting transformation. I know Jan personally, not least because he came to my birthday party last year, but because I had the privilege of completing my Everything This certification with him. And I can tell you, seeing my report and now facilitating those assessments for others has shifted something in me personally. So we had to have this conversation because um, it is one that I think has the ability to really transform the way that people know themselves. So I know me to I know you. Jan, welcome. Let's grab this coffee or tea or water, whatever it is, and let's sip into that inspiration. How was that, mister? How was that?
Amazing introduction. Exactly spot on. Thank you.
Yeah?
Yes.
Aces. The researchers are staying employed for another episode. This is fantastic. Good stuff. So before we get into some of the substance of the questions, I would love to put you under a little time pressure because people who are tuned into this, watching it, listening, they may not yet have come across you. And I think for them to decide, am I going to tune in longer or not? It'd be great, no pressure, to have the context of the man who we see here today in 60 seconds or less. Because you know people's attention spans these days is like, oh, okay. So in 60 seconds or less, please could you share your origin story, which will give us a bit of context.
So, as you said, I spent most of my corporate career leading international groups and diverse teams across Europe for global hospitality groups. And what I found that the most rewarding part of being a senior leader is to see people grow. And I learned that if I help people grow, then I can achieve significant commercial results. Um, and so when I moved to the UK, I said to myself, well, this is an actually amazing opportunity to move from the corporate world, set up iKnow and continue doing what I love and what helped me to succeed in the corporate world. And hence, iKnow helping individuals and teams, um, as you said rightly, unlock full potential. But I think it's more about understanding who we are as individuals, but most importantly, who we are as teams as
Mm.
well, and how we can work better together. Um, it is, yes, full stop. 1 minute. I could go
Okay.
like this for much
Bro,
longer.
I know, and I know, and I love that you did that because actually you've opened the door for me to ask you a question that didn't come through, or to elicit an answer that didn't come through, which is you moved to the UK, but you didn't say where you moved from. You didn't say anything about your background. And it's a tricky one because you've launched into this is where you are today, but I imagine you didn't start off here. So where was it that you moved from originally to come to the UK?
I was born in Prague, in the Czech Republic, and um, when I was about 40, I think, I've always wanted to live abroad and feel how it feels
Mm.
to work in a foreign country. And so I chose the United Kingdom, and originally I came just for only 2 years, and now after 10 years later, I'm still here.
That is that is that is incredible. It does that, right? It does that. You could get stuck here. But Prague is somewhere I've never been, but I would love to go and visit that part of Eastern Europe and just see what you have. But I imagine if when you're from there, it's not the same as when you visit there, I imagine.
It's always the same when you go on holiday and you visit, I don't know, Madrid, and you think, oh, this would be a lovely place to live. It's a different feeling when you're visiting and when you're living there. So, um, Prague is a lovely place to live, but it's a very small market, and for those who want to um, progress their careers, it is quite limiting in what you can achieve. And so, going to a bigger market with many opportunities um, was kind of a natural option for me. The problem with
Mm.
London is that there are so many things to do that it's the difficult thing is actually choose the one that's the right for you. So it's the quite
Mm.
opposite to what I would say is in a smaller market economy.
Definitely, definitely. I see that as a bit of a gift, but also can be a bit of a challenge for people as well in terms of what what should I do? Because I could do a number of things. And building on what you talked about with Prague, like spending over 20 years as director of sales and marketing in the hospitality industry, leading these diverse teams globally, doing all of these amazing things, like packing your bags and taking that ticket to come over. Like you've told us a bit around wanting to broaden your horizons and do that sort of stuff. But what was going on for you to actually motivate you to take that step? Because sometimes, we have plans. Some people will take the action, some people won't. And I thought maybe understand the context of what drove you to finally say, right, I'm going to do this, would be helpful for people listening.
So I have to say that I was somehow going forward, uh, or I was seeking an opportunities. It was not very passive, but at the end, I was offered a job in London, and um, I believe that you always have to seek uh, the opportunities. You have to go forward. You have to do something. You cannot sit passively at the table and think, oh, something will come my way, and that will be the sign that I'm supposed to do this. I don't
Mm.
believe in that. I believe that um, if we are stuck in where we are potentially looking how to grow our careers. We have to take control of it, and that's my philosophy. I like to be the driver of my life. I don't want life to drive me. So it is difficult because there's something different between there's a difference between going outside of your comfort zone in a country and in a market and then actually moving to a foreign country um uh and and accepting a job. uh So going outside of your comfort zone, I believe, is absolutely essential for us to grow as professionals and
Mm.
overcome this fear of unknown. But I personally find it exciting. I think change is exciting,
Mm.
and I do like facing those challenges face to face. So I said to myself, Jan, well, this is it. Uh, let's do this. Let's go.
Yeah. I really like the way you position that. You driving your life rather than life driving you. I'd elevate that a bit, literally, because I don't think you drove to the UK. You flew, right?
Yes.
Are you the pilot of your life rather
You
than
could, yeah, so be pilot of your life.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. And I also think there's something to be said in there for, having that agency and determine as much as I can control something, I will make this step and be comfortable in the unknown. For me, there's something really intriguing in that piece around finding it exciting because I talk to people often, and I know you do too, where the change is daunting. It's not exciting. It's either they know they need to change, but they're just not comfortable with leaving what they know, and that is developing them enough to make that huge leap and get on a plane and fly across and say, right, I'm going to start completely from somewhere different. Most of the time, what they're thinking about is moving from one organization to another or changing their personal circumstances in the country they're in. But you didn't do that. You literally got on a plane and flew somewhere else. It had to assimilate into a new culture. So how did you switch from, or where does it come from for you to be excited about that change? Was it always there? Is the question I guess I'm asking.
I'd say that was always part of my personality, but I
Mm,
understand that it is difficult for people. I mean, don't take me wrong. It is you need to have the courage to do things, but the level of courage is different. So, in principle, what I would say is no matter how big challenge or no matter how big step it is, unless I'm able or unless I'm willing to take action and try new things without um without judgment, without really sometimes expectations, but do something about the situation I'm in, then
mm,
at least you've learned something. Sometimes we look in my career, sometimes I learned what I don't want to do by trying things. But knowing what you want and knowing what you don't want is equally important, at least in my opinion, right?
yeah.
So at least I always knew what path or jobs or careers I don't want to do. And
Mm,
it comes to um, really understand. I had to understand myself.
mm,
Um, and I know about myself. I love high pace, a business environment because that's where I thrive. So understanding. So I've always tried to understand where in which environment I thrive, what makes me happy, and trying to find ways how to achieve that. Um,
mm,
um, it's a as I said, I worked for many years in a corporate world, and now I run my own company. So these are two different worlds, two different setups.
mm,
But it's from I learned from all of those experiences, and
mm,
I wish everyone could do that.
And we're going to build on this for sure. We're going to build on this for sure. There's some couple of things that you said that really resonated with me, and I think one is the learning through experience what you do want and what you don't want. And I think this is relevant in so many ways. If I think about relationships as an example, if you date people over time, you will figure out from someone, oh, I really like that aspect, but then maybe not so much this aspect. But then over time, you build this idea, which is never static. I think it's dynamic. As we evolve, there's different things that are important to us. But you build this idea of what does work for you. And the second thing I think came through loud and clear was this awareness of self, insofar as you ask the question, in what environments do I thrive in? And that awareness of self, I think is so powerful because once you can connect to that, then, you've got a North Star effectively, right? Something to aim for. So thank you. Let me ask you one more question, if I may. Is that okay?
Absolutely, go ahead.
All right. So, I love a meaningful and interesting word. I love words. And for me, iNOMEE is both those. So what does that name represent to you personally? It's to choose to name your company that, I was thinking it must have some sort of personal connection to you.
Um, it's a very interesting question. In a sense, look, at the beginning of my career, I simply went with the flow and I try to find jobs that I like. And obviously, sometimes you get feedback from your peers and your line managers about your performance and who you are as a person. And sometimes you just run repeatedly into a wall and you think, okay, so here I am again and again and again and again the same challenge or obstacle. And then knowing who you are, what are not only your strengths and capabilities and potentially areas you can grow, but also how you are seen by others and how your behavior is seen by others or perceived and what impact you make on people. This is very important. I would say it's even more important than knowing yourself, because from the feedback from others, the understanding of yourself comes naturally to you as well. And so iNOMEE is about understanding yourself first. And I know this is absolutely essential piece, part of personal growth for everyone who wants to achieve um, I don't want to say superior results in your careers, but if you want to move on, um, knowing how to navigate conversations with people, and especially what impact do you make as a leader on people you help develop themselves, this is absolutely essential, I'd say. So iNOMEE, it's always starts with you, so you can then be a better leader, better manager, better peer.
Mm. No, I I mess with that. I mess with it, and the way I've often communicated it to people is that it enables the training that you provide enables people to close the gap between how they perceive themselves because they know themselves and how others perceive them. And I think in closing that gap, you make for you said superior returns. You don't want to say that, but I think you elevate the nature of the relationships you have that can be no more than helpful, right? So whatever we try to do, having good rapport uh, is a facilitator towards that. But you might not necessarily like one another, but being able to understand and do away with these misconceptions, etc., is really important to reduce the friction in any relationship. I think so. Really powerful stuff.
Uh,
Mm,
And if I may, one to add one more thing, it's interesting what you said. Um, um, in my work now, when I work with teams, there's always someone who says, "Jan, I don't need to do any profiling. I don't need to work on my self-awareness. I don't need to do any exercises. Look, I've been living with myself for 50 years. I know myself very well."
mm,
In my head is always like, okay, so um, I'd say that you should actually be working on that the most of everyone in the room, and the reason is that look, self-awareness is very difficult to measure at some point. It's not tangible, right? But there are couple of studies that actually measure self-awareness. So people normally in the workplace, 95% of people in the workplace would say, oh yes, I have very high self-awareness. But when we actually measure some of the elements of self-awareness, only 10 to 15% in workplace show that they are self-aware in terms of their strengths, weaknesses, and the way their behavior can be perceived by others. So when you think of that management and leadership effectiveness, active listening, collaboration, um, effective communication, team dynamics, everything um, uh, stems from self-awareness, and we only have 15% of people in the workplace who have some self-awareness. One of the reasons I set up iNOMEE is is my vision and my desire to swap these numbers. To have 95% under assessment that are self-aware than not.
Powerful stuff. And I said we're going to flow like one of those old school rock bands or R&B bands. So I don't know what you're going to say, but what you said is actually a perfect segue, because what I realize is you and I are talking about something that people listening who don't know us won't know exactly what it's about. So actually, it'd be a great opportunity to share a bit more about the core services that iNOMEE offers, so that people can understand the context behind what we're speaking about, because it's a little bit abstract for someone that's coming in off the left field, if you know what I mean.
Yes. So essentially, we offer facilitated sessions for teams, for managers, directors, and leaders and their teams to understand, to help individuals within the organizations and the teams to understand them better, to um, learn about their preferred styles of every individual on the team, behavioral style, working styles. We help teams work better together through improving their team dynamics. So, you may, for example, sometimes see disengagement within the team or low productivity, or when teams are working remotely, it's very difficult to connect and collaborate. So we bring people together and help them find ways how to be more collaborative and working more productively together. We know that productivity of those teams usually increase by 20 to 25% if they actually learn how to work better together. Um, Potentially to give a little bit more context, in the post-pandemic world, we see that teams are very, very often hybrid or semi-hybrid. People don't have enough opportunities to actually make connections, human connections to work together. And lots of meetings happen now over Zoom or Google Meet. So our work is to help people embrace the new technology in a way to maintain quality relationships at work and make work collaborative more.
Thank you so much for that. So it's facilitation, supporting leaders, supporting their teams, improving connection, collaboration, which then in turn builds quality relationships that improve the performance.
Exactly. That's it. That's it.
No, thank you so much. And of course, with years and years, and decades, in fact, in the corporate world, there's stuff that you've seen, and I'd be really interested to know, nosy as well, how your years in the corporate world shaped your philosophy of what great leadership actually looks like.
Oh, uh, great leadership is, in my opinion, in believing in people and believing in their capabilities. Um, it is it is helping it it is providing a clear vision, um, clear guidance, let's say, to achieving those goals, but also helping people to get on the journey and connect with you and to move towards the common goal, creating a culture of engagement and collaboration, and helping people understand their part and their impact on the common goal. So I'm very often work with sales and marketing teams. And if you just say to someone, you have to do this and that, and people don't have the context or where they work actually falls in within the whole sales and marketing goals, well, then they just do their job and leave. And that's not what we want as leaders. We want people who are connected and to get their buy-in into what we need to achieve. So giving people context, um, uh, um, show, be transparent about what needs to be achieved, give them measurable goals so they understand how they are progressing towards their their targets or the and how they impact the overall performance of the company is absolutely essential.
Yeah, no,
Because then they understand that they are part of a bigger vision.
yeah. I mean, quite simply, it's understanding why, understand why you do what you do, and believing in that, because I think that's when you find people releasing their full capabilities in terms of creativity and discretionary effort and looking for innovation and all these sorts of things. They all sort of flow when you understand why and you're bought into the mission, vision, and also values of an organization, I think. And yeah, I remember reading something somewhere, one of these coaching books, that was 77% of leaders didn't choose to be leaders. They just got there through technical ability or tenure, So I think the work that you do is so
Yeah.
important to try and get that shift uh, almost reversed, so that 77% leaders want to be great people leaders, as well as everything else that comes with the title, because I think that productivity would improve, but also fulfillment and peace and happiness, all those things would improve. And who wouldn't want to work in organizations that are run by people that get it?
So now it's up to the companies also to provide support.
Mm.
Because as you said, sometimes you grow your career, you become a leader, but you've never really thought of it. Now, not everyone is a people person, but leadership is mm, uh, purely about um, leading people, not figures. So figures come in any way if you know how to lead people. And so I think where we lack a lot is the support that companies provide to people who might not be that strong as a people leaders. And that's what I believe a lot of this, let's say, disengagement within the teams or low productivity actually comes from. So but this is we are going back to square one. It is the self-awareness. What everyone in leadership role should ask themselves, what leadership is, what is it to me, what does it mean, is who I'm working with, is my leadership style actually work effective enough, is it working, um and if not, what can I change, what can I do, how can I adapt as a leader? So it's not about me, it's about others.
Yeah.
I think that's very important when it comes to leadership.
No, I think it is. And now some would call it like the sort of servant leader kind of philosophy and thinking, but I think the questions that you pose, I'm glad that we're recording this, because people can play them back and just ask those questions of themselves as a starter for 10, just to become aware of yourself, but also the context you're operating in. Because who said it? James Baldwin, I think, said this, that not everything that is faced can be changed, but nothing to be changed unless it's faced. And I think that is relevant to what you're saying so much, because if you don't know how are you going to change it? If you do know, I know me, then
It
you can.
yeah, it's exactly. It's like sometimes we say, oh, mm, if you don't know what you're looking for, you cannot find it. And the same with leadership. If you don't know who you want to be as a leader, if you don't understand your team and the dynamics and who you are, well, then it's very difficult to achieve significant results.
Exactly.
So
Uh,
I think that's the most important part in working with teams and on yourself.
mm, I'm with you. Now, I know you not to be someone to blow their own trumpet and say, I did this and I've done that. But word on the street is, I heard a rumor that you've been recognized, iNOMEE, as an award-winning innovator of the year in learning and development. Is that true?
Yes, it is.
Cool. So, flowers to you. In fact, if I know how to press it without canceling the call, I'll put some flowers on the screen, but I don't, so I won't touch anything. But what I wanted to ask you is, what's the thing you're most proud of that doesn't show up in the public domain? There's awards, there's accolades, there's recognitions, but what's the thing that you're most proud of that isn't necessarily visible to everybody out there?
For me, or for us as a company, it's the methodology that we have. That's not we don't promote it on the webpage, but that's our IPO, I'd say. It is that I'm a very practical person. I'm, I like results. I like figures. I like when I can make informed decisions, and that's I believe what made me work with sales and marketing for me. Or what we do in very different way. We offer team to see different layers of the self-awareness. So something they do on their own, something that we provide through a science like a profiling, and then give them a full spectrum of information that they can choose from. And from there, it's the foundation. And we say, mm, we are not the only company that does this in the world, and as a senior leader, I've been through a very different profiling myself. But what happened was that it was always do and delete exercise. So I work for global corporates. They always gave me this tool, and I did something with my team, and then everybody put it in the drawer, and then everybody moved on. So there was no change, there was no impact. And so what we do differently is that we help the teams, individuals and teams and their leaders to actually act on the knowledge, on the newfound knowledge. So one thing is learning about yourself, learning about your team. It's enlightening, it's exciting. But what do you do with that information in a real world? That is most important. There's no change if you don't take this newfound knowledge and do something about it.
Yeah.
So if you've been given a feedback for many years that you may come across as too direct, and for 20 years you haven't done anything about it, well, then I'm not surprised that you're in the same place today. So um, what we do at iNOMEE, we help individuals to take that knowledge and make a plan, and over a couple of touch points in the future to also see if people actually took the action and how do they feel, and how do they feel about the change, and what results they see moving forward. So there is accountability on actually moving forward. It's not only learning, but it's actually acting on the results and what people learn about themselves.
That makes a lot of sense. Makes a lot of sense. And I could, I could see the connectivity between knowledge, use, and then the transformation that follows on from that. Because if you're using it, then well, something's going to happen, isn't it? Because I laugh because it sounds so simple, but actually many don't use stuff. Like I've done so many assessments over the years that they're somewhere, but I didn't use them. But it sounds like with the touch points that you have, checking in on how people are feeling, the things that they're identifying, and bringing that awareness up of the changes that are being made, you can really affect lasting transformative change, is what I'm hearing.
Look, I know it sounds very simple, and some listeners would say, "Oh, Jan, well, thank you. This is such a we don't have to reinvent wheel here. We know this." But I would then challenge everyone to say, "Okay, so when was the last time you took a feedback from your um, annual review and you did actually something about it? When you actually put a plan, an actionable plan, and you actually did something about what you've learned, and how did that impact your performance as a leader or as a team or as a person?" So uh um and think about it.
Oh, no, it's
Obviously, the work we do with organizations, what we offer is what we also call a blended learning, which is something that was very much appreciated by the board, who gave us the award. Um, as we come across, as we come forward to different types of learners, the learning patterns significantly changed over past years. And then, of course, that we work with uh, hybrid or semi-hybrid teams. So all of our facilitations are delivered online, offline. There are things that people do on their own that they share online, that they have a follow-up tools online. But I'm always very, very happy, and I would always suggest the core facilitation to have in person. So this blended learning uh, uh, is something I'd say very new in the marketplace.
It's
But we got an award for it, so it must be.
no, that's great, and I think it also sounds like inclusive, but also considerate. Hey, what's the word I'm looking for? Considerate of the current climate that we're in. I don't know why I couldn't think of a word there. Considerate of the current climate that we're in, where you have got people in the office, out of the office, doing a blend of what. So the blended learning approach is great, and actually, you've got me thinking about your experience, training this facilitators and working with leaders. What's the most common blind spot people have around their own behavioral style?
Common blind spot. I wouldn't say there is a one single thing. I would say, okay, Kofi, everyone has this. No, it's sometimes, but very often it is that people are rewarded for some skill or something they do. I give you, and everybody else can see this as actually a blind spot or something they don't like. So I give you an example, right? So I work with this a very, very successful um, uh, um, sales professional, and um, she was always like, "I'm the best salesperson in the company," and Jan, I don't really understand what are you, why we need to have this conversation? Why do we need to um, have facilitation with my team? And I said, well, the problem is that no one is saying you're not a good salesperson. You're rewarded for this. But the thing is that you come across as a too direct and maybe and a little bit domineering in a workplace, and that's why your team, they don't connect with you. That's the problem. And something she saw as the ultimate skill she had to actually bring very significant sales results to the company was seen by anybody else. The communication style of those achievements and how she connected with the team to achieve those results was creating disengagement in the team. So sometimes it comes as a big surprise that something we believe we are absolutely amazing and this is exactly why we've been hired, and doesn't have to necessarily, it it can be a blind spot, and I see this very often.
That's a good one. That is a good one. I will dwell on this further later because otherwise I won't get through
And,
my.
and you see how it's coming back to what we said about the leadership. It's about leading people. It's not about leading figures,
No, absolutely.
right? So how can it's leadership is not a one person show. Leadership is about connecting with everyone who's within the team, no matter how big the team is.
No, absolutely. Because if you the way that you broke down that example, yes, okay, generate revenue, you can do that as a sole producer. But then when you elevate and you're responsible for other revenue generators in the example that you're giving, and you're setting the targets and the strategy and all the rest of it, like it just doesn't land or work well if you just get people rubbed up the wrong way and they leave, for example, because they just can't hack your style. So, sick days, engagement, all sorts of things are tied into this increase in self-awareness and actually transforming the way that you approach things. So thank you. Thank you. That makes a lot of sense. We have T-minus 2 questions left.
Who has?
It's flying, and I knew this was gonna happen, but so rich is the conversation. But T-minus 2 questions, and my penultimate one for you is, for someone that's sitting at their desk right now or at home reflecting on things and maybe quietly unhappy or quietly internally aware that things could be different, but they're not really sure where to start. What's a piece of advice you would give them from everything you've learned on your own path of breaking out and restarting or re-classifying how you approach life and work?
I will have to repeat myself. I think. Well, the first thing is, if someone is quietly unhappy, unless you do something about that, nothing's gonna happen, and you will remain in that place unhappy for much longer. And instead, so I would advise everyone, instead of prolonging this mm, uh, the time, do something about it. And by doing something about it is, for example, a very short analysis about um what if this is what you don't like, so what do you like? And be creative, and don't let anyone or anything limit your thinking about it. Just simply put on a piece of paper, if if everything was ideal, where would you be working? What would the team look like? What would the organization look like? Um, what that company is doing. Is it do you want to work in retail, or you want to work with a company that has a social or ecological impact? It doesn't matter, but put things there that career in your life in upcoming 5 to 10 years. And that's an amazing start, because that gives you immediately an idea in which direction you want to go from the place you are now.
Yeah, that's powerful. I really agree with that. I hear in that having a bit of a roadmap, but a roadmap that's not limited by uh, constraints. So be creative with it and explore. And then with that action, I feel that hope springs out of that, like there's positivity that comes from the fact that you're taking.
Yeah, what happens very often, people say, "Oh, yeah, and yeah, well, this is a very lovely to have this list of things I want to do, but I don't have the skills, I don't have the knowledge, etc." Well, that's not the truth, right? It's uh, if you believe you can do it, well, you can do it, and if you cannot find the courage to do it, or you can find way how to do it, well, you can ask for help, right? Um, but uh once life is changing towards the goal you want, the career you want to do, well, then everything that happens on the way is part of the learning. And that's what I said at the beginning. It's change, it's going outside of your comfort zone, learning in the unknown. um yeah, it's painful sometimes, but it's extremely rewarding. Extremely rewarding.
No, I couldn't agree with you more. Really. Yeah, I guess they sometimes say you have growing pains, so that can tie in with that too. So my last question for you, and then I have a little outro that is formulating for sure. But my last question for you is that I guess with iKNOMEE, you really help individuals to identify their strengths, understand their motivations, recognize the behavior traits that are holding them back, all good stuff. And you've won awards for the good stuff you did. If we fast forward 5 years from now, what does success look like for iKNOMEE and for Jan personally?
Ooh. um very tricky question. Very tricky question. Um, our aspiration is not to become a global company. That's not what we want. What we want is to um, multiply the number of teams and people that we work with, and see that the impact we made. I will not. Uh, I will. I will not lie that we would like to work with more and more senior leaders and leadership roles, and um And I hope that's going to be our future moving forward and building on the success we have now.
Mm. I think it's achievable without doubt because you offer value, and when there is values, I think that success follows, which you're already seeing anyway. So long live iNOMEE and the Jan Skroud, helping more leaders bring more fulfillment to their companies. Jan, time is running away from us, but I would love to end by saying this has been a really incredible conversation. I knew we had to do it because it would be rich with wisdom, your lived experience, and also honesty. In the direct way that only you deliver it, which I love. What strikes me most is the thread that runs through everything that you shared today. And sometimes, you said, I'm going to come back to this. And because there is a thread that runs through it. And that's that the path to better leadership, better performance, deeper fulfillment really does start with knowing yourself. I know me. Or as Plato said, know thyself. And that's the heart of iNOMEE DISC. And I really hope that this conversation sparks something in people that tune into it. And whether they're curious about DISC or about coaching, leadership development, or simply about what their next chapter could look like, that they are encouraged to reach out to you. So I'm going to put where to find you and your website, www.inomee.com,
This is lovely. Thank you.
in the notes, so people got that. And just want to end on my side by thanking everyone that's tuned in or watching this, listen to it. And if it's resonated, please like it, share it, subscribe it, or give us a review, because it helps us reach more people who are ready to pivot on a purpose like Jan has. So I'm gonna pause there and hand to you, Jan, for the final word. It's been a pleasure, but yeah, over to you.
Thank you very much, Kofi. Yes, my final words is learning from the unknown is very rewarding. Have courage to do it. It's always for better.
Oh, please say that one more time because it cracked up at the last bit. So lead to the known. Hit me again.
Lean into the unknown, learn from it, have a courage, and it's always for better.
I love that. And what a microphone drop moment. I think, yeah, let's keep leading with that clarity. Let's keep embracing change, keep finding purpose along the path as well. Because like you said, you will learn things along the way, making those changes. So thank you so much, Jan, and enjoy the rest of your break. I can't wait for you to be back in the same country so we can catch up and do some same flights or lunch or something. All right.
Thank you very much, Kofi.
All right. Have a great rest of the day. Take care now.
Thank you. Cheers.
Bye.